Hi, we've got Gio Albertazzi from Vertiv, the CEO, joining us, and I'm very, very excited. Gio's been very active in PTC. Was one of our great speakers last year, but also sits at in one of the great spots in the power side of our business in terms of really looking at one of the key drivers of what's going on in digital infrastructure. For years, none of us really talked about the whole power side of the digital infrastructure, and Gio sits right at the crossing points of everything that's going on. So Gio, maybe just give us an idea of how was 2025 in terms of was it a great year? Was it a booming year? How did it go for you?
I would talk. Well, first of all, we are of course the entire infrastructure: power, thermal, prefabrication, services, the whole thing, and it's I have to go back to what we were saying to our investors back in October. So certainly a year very convincing for Vertiv, going in the right direction, and especially what we continue to notice is a strength in the industry. The strength in the industry is a constant, and that, as I said to investors, as I told the investors in October, that was very well reflected in our pipeline and the direction of travel. So the industry is moving very, very fast, and our role in the industry is becoming more and more important. So we're really pleased, never satisfied, but certainly pleased with where we are.
Yeah, no, I think it's. None of us, I think, really saw sort of this wave coming that AI has brought, right? I mean, it's how is it kind of obviously the data center industry? You look at it was probably steady, 15-20% growth every year. Kind of steady eddy buildings. Going out 10-12 years, and now we've got this AI revolution where you're building massive data centers very, very quickly, right?
Sure.
I mean, when you think about it, it's probably what, 2 years to build a 1 gigawatt facility, where that used to be, when people thought about it, was like this 5-year plan, and now you're actually doing these things in 24 months, and that must be putting huge strain onto your business.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things on your comment, Bill. One is clearly the AI and the acceleration that it has, let's say, positively caused in the industry is certainly something that is unprecedented. The industry has been almost slow in the past in terms of technological changes, in terms of the IT infrastructure. I mean, a lot of things were happening, but nowhere near the speed at which we see happening them today. We are in a good position in the industry. We have a very strong relationship with both silicon side and customer, be them hyperscalers, enterprise, or colo, and we work with most of them, certainly the most important of them, to really define the roadmap of technology 2-3 years out. So we're not surprised by this acceleration. Certainly, there was the ChatGPT moment for the industry, but we've been really ready to make sure that the industry was ready to accelerate, and that's a role that we continue to have in the industry.
Yeah, no, I think it is fantastic. I'm sure it's fun to watch, although it probably puts because I think I look back and where you are, there's been some challenges, obviously, with COVID, caused all the supply chain issues that happened coming out of COVID, and now you've got this sort of acceleration. It's almost like you haven't had no time to sleep in the last 5 years, right?
No time, never time to sleep. Just a minimum number of hours to be always fresh and full of energy. But no, it's certainly exhilarating in terms of the direction the industry going, in terms of what we have done in the last few years. And yes, the post-COVID was a challenge for many, but we are pleased with the direction of travel since. Very pleased.
And what's as you're thinking about going into 2026? What are the big products on pushes and areas that you think are going to be new that we'll be reading about Vertiv doing some new innovations or new ways of approaching some of these massive deployments?
Sure. So if we talk about technology, clearly everything continues to move as the power density, the rack density continues to move up and up to 1 megawatt and sometimes even above. Clearly, liquid cooling is becoming even more important, but liquid cooling in and of itself is very important, but needs to be looked at in the continuum, if you will, of the thermal change. So everything, liquid cooling, air cooling, heat rejection, the system. Then, of course, we have another big change afoot, that is the gradual transition, at least for a part of the loads, to high voltage DC, be it plus minus 400 or 800 volt DC. All things that will continue to evolve the infrastructure over the next few years. So not only the let's say the opportunity for growth, but also the opportunity for a technology shift that clearly is very, very interesting for everyone in the industry. And the use of the word interesting is deliberate in the sense that it offers certainly also opportunities.
Yeah, no, I think you're not only at the place of expansion, but also as power companies start to look at how they're actually approaching these things, a lot of cost is going to be taken out as you go through with as you start to bring new technologies to the game, right? I mean, that's it's very interesting because we were talking to the NVIDIA guys earlier today, and when you talk about how much power is used for a AI search versus the amount of power that's used for a typical Google search, right?
Sure.
It's about 10 to 1, but it used to be 100 to 1. And so the cost structure is actually coming down really, really fast, not only from the chip side, but also all of the supporting infrastructure that sits behind it. So it's...
I'd say that the efficiency that the technology and the evolution of the silicon is delivering is really awesome, in a sense that it will enable really to continue to grow, tokens per kilowatt, per megawatt. So we're very encouraged about that. We are also encouraged by our ability and our role in terms of delivering the infrastructure, be it power, cooling, or the entire data center, to serve those loads. So we do not see the infrastructure becoming how can I say, more simple. We see the infrastructure becoming more nuanced based on the type of loads your data center will have to handle in the future. So there will be a lot of designs, a lot of types of data centers, depending on what's the strategy, what type of loads, what type of silicon the data center will utilize. If you will, we track ourselves in terms of content, and we're explicit with our investors in terms of content per megawatt. We track ourselves per megawatt. But you're right, cost per token is going definitely in the right direction.
Yeah, and it is interesting because we may be talking about that next year when we're sitting here in PTC or whatever next time we're having these discussions. Because it's interesting, everyone's talking about, okay, how much does it cost to build a megawatt of white space, or and they all have these different metrics, and the token I think will be the next. It's going to be the next one that we look at. So tell me, when you think about everyone talks about, and I know this isn't your main area of expertise, but the power in the United States in general, right? I mean, it's and around the world, with AI growing as fast as it's growing.
Sure.
What are we going to do? I mean, it looks like we're going to have a real massive power shortage, doesn't it look like?
Well, certainly power is central, kind of power generation and availability of power is central to every conversation in the industry. We've been very, very open about the fact that I personally do not see power availability as kind of a ceiling beyond which you cannot go. It's one of the pacing items, pacing the speed at which the industry can grow. But again, there is stranded power that is being harvested, if you will. There is a lot of ingenuity and capital being deployed. So if you take North America, but also other parts of the world, and not all parts of the world are power constrained, but where power constraints exist, we see a lot of projects with power, let's say, generation on side, with power independence in mind, or at least power shaving and battery energy storage systems, really to make sure that the data center can cope with a specific situation of power in the region. So we do not see the growth stop because of power. We see a lot of capital and ingenuity being deployed. That also, of course, changes, if you will, the architecture of power infrastructure for a data center. Having, for example, to connect a gas turbine to a chip, it is not straightforward. So the power architecture and the thermal architecture need to be designed accordingly. We have announced a partnership with Caterpillar, exactly going in the direction of defining reference designs on the power and the thermal side to be ready to support our customer and the industry in that respect.
Yeah, do you think, I mean, it's some people say that one day we're going to be, the power generation and the data center may be all co-located in the same spot, right? Everything will be behind the grid. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense if you're going to do things at the edge and if applications are going to be close to customers. But I could understand that for maybe the bigger language models, maybe you get to that. And maybe that's what potentially even Google's thinking about. You know, Google announced they're buying a nuclear power company, right? Do you end up in a place where with these large language models, you actually have the power completely integrated into the data center, or like, you know, essentially going beyond, you know, everything behind the grid, right?
Yeah, I think, and what we see is this industry doesn't move binarily. Despite, if you will, the thought process sometimes is binary. Oh, it is all kind of a bring your own power, or it is all grid. And I can make many other examples of this binary nature. The fact is that the industry is large, it's becoming larger, and I have a lot of smart people that come up with different solutions, and we will have a mix that goes from pure grid to pure self-sufficiency and everything in between. And we see cases across the entire spectrum right now. Yeah. So it will be a good hybrid environment, or let's say a broad range of solutions, and that will be true for the future.
You know, just to talk about the thermal side of it, right? So the new GPUs are sort of, you know, they're water cooled, creates a different environment that you've actually got to create inside the data center, right? And I mean, what does the future data center look like, right? I mean, and how do you deal with, because it's interesting, you're going to have air cooled data, you know, probably, I would say probably what, maybe 90% of the data centers today still are using air cooling technology, and 10% maybe are, you know, of the total volume is water cooled. Where do you see it looking? Sure.
So I mean, clearly what you refer to is more the current installed base.
Yeah.
When you look at how new data centers are being built, well, the majority of the cooling is de facto liquid cooling. I always indicate that pretty much 70% of the loads will be liquid cooled, and 30% of the loads within the same data center pretty much will be air cooled. Of course, in all cases, be it liquid cooled or air cooled, and you need all the kind of heat rejections, be them chillers, dry coolers, or cooling towers. Probably will be chillers and dry coolers. So again, I don't want to be one size fit all different data centers, kind of an inference edge data center, a pure training data center, or data centers that mix the two and maybe sometimes do also traditional cloud loads will have different designs. But clearly there is a trend of more liquid cooling. Now that liquid cooling is today absolutely predominantly one phase water-based. The future could be more complicated.
When you say more complicated, what do you mean?
Two-phase refrigerant-based, but we don't know exactly when that will happen. In this moment, it is predominantly water-based.
And what do you think happened? I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people have been talking about what does the AI edge look like, right? So what is the little data center that when you think about like take Amazon or Microsoft when they build these sort of pods that they actually put out there, they're sort of sub a megawatt or 1 to 2 megawatts, and they sort of sit around every urban center, and that's where they basically are the gateways to their cloud, their larger data centers.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think those look like? Because I mean, we're actually, are those these kind of new age? Are these GPU based? Or is it because it's going to be really interesting to think about what even the smaller data centers are going to look like.
Well, we see definitely an acceleration in everything inference.
Yeah.
So very clear, very strong. When you think in terms of inference, clearly a certain degree of proximity to the center of gravity of data consumption matters. I do not necessarily believe that we'll have a tremendous proliferation of a very small data centers, but certainly, again, it's not either one or the other. We will have a spectrum from the gigawatt side all the way to the 40, 50 megawatt. But the thing that is interesting to think about is that if you think about AI, maybe you have a 15 megawatt data center really edge, you may have a kind of a constitute of 10 racks. Yeah. So it is really something totally different. So one megawatt would be probably a one rack type of solution. So it's early stage, but we like it. We like as Vertiv we like it all. We're very strong in telecom as well. So will there be a hybridization between the two? It's early stage, but certainly more and more inference going on. It's a fact. We see it in very clearly, but the size continues to be relatively large.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit to geopolitics a little bit. Just
all easy the subjects, Bill.
But not in a negative way. But you can't talk about Asia and not talk about the challenges with the Chinese and the Americans and trying to figure out. Everyone's supply chain at one point had a stop in China in most cases, right? Most technology operators. And obviously, whether it be small components or suppliers, et cetera. And now you've got this a little bit of I wouldn't call it a standoff, but sort of this, it's got to be all American made in order for Microsoft or X or Y, Z company to go in there. I mean, how do you navigate that? And is it a problem, or have you found, or are you just using different technologies for different data center operators, or how does that work? Or are you feeling that at all?
Two things are very important. We are a truly global company, and we operate across the world. I mean, really, the entire world. Something that started with COVID and we perfected after COVID is really a region by region type of supply chain. Our product design is fairly global in its nature, and we serve a lot of customers that really value this global nature of the technology. Serving region for the region with the regional supply chains is the best way for us to address the challenges. And we operate in China. We're a Chinese manufacturing the technology provider in China, and that's a very interesting place where to compete. A lot of innovation. So we keep our radar always on, and we operate globally.
Okay, no, it's interesting. So you don't feel the pinch of any of this stuff, or you don't feel like you have to alter strategies at all. You sort of.
There is always an adjustment of the strategy. Clearly, had we not pivoted, but there was 3 or 4 years ago, starting but with the implementation, but implementing very vigorously this region for region strategy, well, we would be in a different place. But it's our job, it's my job, principally, first and foremost, let's say, is to really always correct course strategically and understand where we have to take the company.
Yeah, no, and
so they're always kind of adjusting and forward-looking. The foresight needs always to be an essential part of the way we strategize.
So, when you look around, all of us think about the Asia Pacific region. Obviously, our PTC is all about the Pacific region, and many of us thought that was going to be the spotlight for growth for most of at least this century. It was supposed to be the Pacific century. Do you see that still happening? Do you see Asia as like the main growth sector, or do you think it's becoming more of a global growth across all the regions? And
yeah, the data center industry, of course, has accelerated the most in North America and in the US. That's so evident that it's almost it goes without saying. We are pleased with, as I said to investors when we had our third quarter earnings, I then said we're pleased with the pipelines, with the opportunities, and the trajectory of business. That's what I told investors back then.
Yeah, and so you see the region is still very, very important, and it's
the region is important, and we are. It's a region that I trust will have a strong future. Assets.
Yeah, no, the bets are a lot bigger than they used to be, right? I mean,
they are.
It is a fascinating time.
They are.
Well, Gio, thank you so much for joining us on PTC, digging into the future, and we're very, very excited to hear from you. Obviously, at our future conferences, but also thank you for all your contributions to this conference and how you've helped us think about the future. And we look forward to hearing more.
Bill, always a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.